The morning alarm buzzed through Luna Station like it had every day for the past 3 years. Commander Lisa Grant rubbed her tired eyes and looked out the wide window at Earth hanging in the black sky. The blue planet looked so peaceful from here, but Lisa knew better. Down there, people were arguing about who should explore the stars first and what they might find. She walked down the metal hallway to the communication center. The station was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Most of the crew was still sleeping. Lisa liked these early hours when she could think without interruption. At the communication desk, Dr. Nathan Cross was already working. His coffee cup was empty and his dark hair was messy. Papers covered with strange symbols were scattered around his computer. "You are up early again," Lisa said. Nathan looked up and smiled. "Could not sleep. I keep thinking about yesterday's signal." Lisa sat down next to him. Yesterday, their equipment had picked up something unusual from deep space. It was not like the normal radio waves from stars or the noise from space dust. This signal had patterns that looked like they meant something. "Show me what you found," Lisa said. Nathan pulled up the data on his screen. Green and blue lines moved across the black background like waves on water. "Look at this part here." He pointed to a section where the waves repeated the same pattern 3 times. "These are not random. Someone is trying to talk to us." Amy Rodriguez walked into the room carrying a hot cup of tea. She was the best communication officer on Luna Station, and if anyone could figure out strange signals, it was her. "Good morning," Amy said. "I heard you two talking about our mystery signal. I ran it through the computer all night. Want to see what I found?" She sat at her workstation and brought up a new display. The signal looked different now, organized into neat rows and columns. "The computer found mathematical patterns," Amy explained. "Look, here are prime numbers 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. Then it shows basic addition and subtraction. After that, it gets more complex." Nathan leaned forward. "It is like someone is teaching us their language step by step." "Exactly," Amy nodded. "But here's the strange part. The signal is very old. My computer says it has been traveling through space for at least 3 years. Lisa felt a chill run down her back. 3 years? That means whoever sent this has been trying to contact someone for a long time. Amy nodded. And there is more. The signal did not come straight to us. It bounced off communication stations from other star systems, dozens of them. Which means many other civilizations should have heard this message before it reached Earth. The 3 humans sat quietly for a moment. The idea that other intelligent life existed was not new to them. Earth's scientists had been looking for aliens for decades, but finding proof that someone was actually trying to talk to them was different. It made the universe feel less empty. "Can you translate more of the message?" Lisa asked. Nathan and Amy worked together for the next hour. They fed the signal into their best translation programs and compared it to every language pattern they knew. Slowly, the alien symbols began to make sense. "Oh no," Amy whispered as she read the translation on her screen. Her face turned pale. "What is it?" Lisa asked. Nathan was reading the same translation. His hand started shaking. "This is not a greeting," he said quietly. "This is a cry for help." Amy cleared her throat and began to read the translated message aloud. "To any civilization capable of traveling between the stars. We are the Valdari of the 4th planet in what you might call the Kepler 442 system. Our world is in great danger. A powerful enemy approaches our home. They call themselves the Zephyrian Empire. They destroy planets and enslave peaceful peoples. We have no weapons to fight them. We have no experience with war. Our entire civilization has been built on peace and cooperation. We are calling out to any friends among the stars. Please, if you can hear this message, help us. We do not want to die. We do not want our children to become slaves. We are sending this plea to everyone who might listen. Please, someone answer us." The room fell silent. Lisa felt her heart beating fast. Somewhere in the galaxy, peaceful people were about to be destroyed by an evil empire, and they were begging for help from anyone who could hear them. "How long ago was this message sent?" Lisa asked. Amy checked her computer. The original transmission started 4 years ago. But remember, it has been bouncing around the galaxy for 3 years. That means they might already be dead. Nathan finished quietly. Lisa stood up and began pacing around the room. This was bigger than anything Earth had ever faced. They had just discovered that the galaxy was full of life, but also full of danger. There were peaceful civilizations like this Valdari species, but there were also evil empires that destroyed worlds. Wait, Lisa said, stopping in her tracks. You said this message bounced off dozens of communication stations from other civilizations? Yes, Amy replied. Maybe hundreds. The signal path shows it traveled through at least 12 different star systems with advanced technology. So, other species heard this cry for help before we did? Definitely. Some of them heard it years ago. Lisa felt sick to her stomach. And none of them answered? The room was quiet again. The terrible truth was becoming clear. The Valdari had been crying out for help for years. Their message had reached many advanced civilizations throughout the galaxy. But nobody had answered. Nobody had come to help them. Until now. Until Earth heard their voice. Lisa walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Each tiny point of light might be a sun with planets around it. Some of those planets might have intelligent life. And some of those civilizations were apparently willing to let innocent people die rather than get involved. We need to contact Captain Morrison, Lisa said. Nathan looked confused. The experimental ship captain, why? Because the UES Horizon is our most advanced vessel. If we are going to do something about this, we need our best ship and our best crew. Amy turned around in her chair. Do something? Lisa, we are talking about traveling to another star system to fight an evil empire. We do not even know if the Valdari are still alive. Lisa looked at her two friends. Both were smart people who understood the dangers of space travel. Both knew that Earth's technology was still new and untested compared to ancient galactic civilizations. Both realized that one human ship could not fight an entire empire. Amy, Nathan, let me ask you something, Lisa said. If you were trapped on a burning building and you called for help, how would you feel if everyone heard you but nobody came? Nathan thought about it. I would feel abandoned, hopeless. Now imagine that instead of a building, it was your entire planet. And instead of fire, it was an army that wanted to enslave your children. Amy closed her eyes. I would feel like the universe was a cold, cruel place with no goodness in it. Lisa nodded. The Valdari sent their message to dozens of civilizations. All of them said nothing. All of them did nothing. What does that say about our galaxy? The two officers were quiet. They were beginning to understand what Lisa was thinking. But we heard their message too, Lisa continued. And we have a choice. We can be like all the other civilizations and ignore their plea. Or we can be different. We can be the ones who answer when someone calls for help. Nathan stood up. Even if it is dangerous? Especially if it is dangerous. Because that is when help matters most. Amy was looking at the translation on her screen again. Lisa, what if we are too late? What if the Zephyrians already destroyed their world? Lisa turned back to the window. Earth was still hanging there in the darkness, beautiful and blue and safe. For now. Then we will be the ones who tried, she said. We will be the voice in the dark that said, you are not alone, someone heard you, someone cared enough to come. She walked to the communication panel and opened a channel to Earth Command. This is Luna Station calling Admiral Stone, priority. Alpha message, we have a situation that requires immediate attention. As she waited for the connection, Lisa looked at Nathan and Amy. Both of them were scared, but both of them were nodding in agreement. They understood that this moment would define not just their own lives, but humanity's place in the galaxy. Someone had called for help. And for the first time in galactic history, someone was going to answer. The UES Horizon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge watching the main screen as stars appeared around them. After 3 weeks of travel, they had finally arrived at the Valdari, homeworld. What they saw made everyone on the bridge go silent. The planet below was covered with smoke and fire. Large alien ships hung in orbit like dark metal clouds. These ships were bigger than anything humanity had ever built. Their hulls were black and covered with sharp angles that looked like weapons. "Communications. Try to contact the planet," Captain Morrison ordered. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez worked at her station for several minutes. Finally, she looked up with worry in her eyes. "Sir, I am picking up hundreds of distress signals from the surface, but they are very weak. Most of the communication towers seem to be destroyed." Dr. Elena Martinez was studying the alien ships through the telescope. "Captain, those vessels are using some kind of energy weapon to attack the surface. I can see explosions happening every few seconds." Morrison clenched his fists. They were not too late, but they were close. The Valdari were still fighting for their lives down there. "Take us closer, but keep us hidden," Morrison told his pilot. "I want to see what we are dealing with." The Horizon moved carefully through the asteroid belt that surrounded the system. The ship's stealth systems made them nearly invisible, but Morrison knew they had to be careful. One mistake and the alien fleet would spot them. As they got closer, the destruction became more clear. Beautiful crystal cities that had once covered the planet were now broken and burning. The aliens had landed thousands of soldiers who were forcing the Valdari into metal cages. "My God," whispered Dr. Martinez. "They are not just destroying the cities, they are capturing the people." Lieutenant Commander Ryan Clark was studying the enemy through his tactical station. "Captain, I count 47 alien warships. Each one is at least twice the size of our vessel. Their weapons appear to be plasma-based, very advanced." Morrison felt the weight of the situation. One human ship against an entire alien fleet. But they had not come this far to turn around now. "Dr. Martinez, can you establish contact with any Valdari survivors?" Morrison asked. Dr. Martinez worked with her translation equipment for an hour. Finally, she managed to connect with someone on the planet's surface. The voice that came through the speakers was soft and musical, but filled with fear. "This is Elder Keth of the Valdari," the voice said through the computer translator. "Who are you? Are you here to help us?" "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth ship Horizon. We received your message asking for help. We came as fast as we could." There was silence for a long moment. Then Elder Keth spoke again, and this time his voice was shaking with emotion. "You came? Someone actually came? We have been calling for help for 4 years. We sent our message to every civilization we could reach. You are the first to answer." Dr. Martinez felt tears in her eyes. "Elder Keth, we are here now. Can you tell us about your situation?" Elder Keth explained that the Zephyrians had arrived 6 months ago. At first they had demanded that the Valdari surrender their planet and become slaves. When the Valdari refused, the aliens began their attack. "We do not understand war," Elder Keth said sadly. "Our species evolved from small creatures that hid from predators. We learned to survive by being peaceful and working together. We have never hurt another living being. We do not even know how to fight." Captain Morrison leaned forward. "What do the Zephyrians want with your world?" "They want our people as workers in their mines on other planets. They want our crystal technology for their weapons. And they want to strip our world of its resources before they move on to attack." Someone else. Lieutenant Commander Clark had been listening to intercepted alien communications. He turned to Morrison with a grim expression. "Captain, I have been monitoring Zephyrian battle frequencies. They are planning something called a final processing in 3 days." "What does that mean?" Morrison asked. Clark looked sick. "From what I can understand, they plan to load all remaining Valdari onto transport ships. Anyone who cannot work will be—" He stopped and took a deep breath. "They will be eliminated." The bridge fell quiet. Everyone understood what that meant. In 3 days, the Zephyrians would commit genocide against anyone they could not use as slaves. Dr. Martinez continued her conversation with Elder Keth. She learned that the Valdari had once been part of a larger galactic community. They had friends among the stars, or so they thought. "We sent our cry for help to the Altarian Republic," Elder Keith explained. "They were our first contact with galactic civilization 200 years ago. They taught us about the stars and other species. We thought they were our friends." "What did they say when you asked for help?" Dr. Martinez asked. They said that intervention in local conflicts was against their policy. They wished us well and ended communication. Morrison felt anger growing in his chest. An entire civilization was being destroyed, and their so-called friends were hiding behind politics. What about other species? Dr. Martinez asked. Elder Keth's voice became even sadder. The Centauri Federation said they could not spare ships for what they called minor territorial disputes. The Andromedans told us that survival belongs to the strong, and if we were weak, we deserved to die. Dozens of other civilizations either ignored our messages or told us that helping us would interfere with natural selection. Communications Officer Rodriguez had been working on something at her station. She turned to Morrison with an expression of disbelief. Captain, I have been analyzing the message paths of the Valdari distress signal. Do you want to know how many advanced civilizations received their call for help? How many? Morrison asked. 238. All of them had the technology to travel between stars. All of them had military capabilities far beyond what the Zephyrians possess. Any one of them could have easily stopped this attack. Morrison felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. More than 200 civilizations had heard the Valdari crying for help. Not one had come. Dr. Martinez was still talking to Elder Keth. How do your people feel about being abandoned by everyone? Many of our people have lost hope, Elder Keth replied. Some say that the galaxy is a place where only evil survives. Others believe that intelligence naturally leads to cruelty, and that we were foolish to think otherwise. The young ones ask why we ever reached for the stars if the stars were filled with beings who would watch us die. Captain Morrison took the communication device. Elder Keth, this is Captain Morrison. I want you to listen to me carefully. You are not alone anymore. We are humans from the planet Earth. We heard your call and we came to help you. But you are only one ship, Elder Keth said quietly. The Zephyrians have an entire fleet. How can you possibly fight them? Morrison looked around his bridge at his crew. Lieutenant Commander Clark was studying tactical data, trying to find weaknesses in the enemy fleet. Dr. Martinez was working on ways to help Valdari survivors. Communications Officer Rodriguez was trying to contact other human ships that might be able to help. Everyone was working together to solve an impossible problem. Elder Keth, I need you to understand something about humans. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the smartest or the most advanced. But we have something that apparently no other species has. What is that? Elder Keith asked. When someone calls for help, we answer. Even if it is dangerous. Even if the odds are against us. Even if everyone else says we should mind our own business. Because we believe that doing what is right is more important than doing what is safe. There was a long pause. When Elder Keth spoke again, his voice sounded different. For the first time since the conversation began, there was a small note of hope. Captain Morrison, what do you need us to do? Morrison smiled. First, we need you to survive for 3 more days. Second, we need information about Zephyrian positions and weaknesses. Third, we need you to help us show the galaxy what happens when good people work together. Lieutenant Commander Clark looked up from his tactical station. Captain, I hate to interrupt, but we have a problem. Long-range sensors show more Zephyrian ships approaching the system. Reinforcements will arrive in 48 hours. Morrison nodded grimly. The situation was getting worse by the hour. Soon they would be facing not just 47 enemy ships, but perhaps twice that number. Dr. Martinez, ask Elder Keth if there are any other Valdari off-world, any colonies or settlements that might be able to help. Dr. Martinez relayed the question. Elder Keth's response made everyone's heart sink. The Valdari never established colonies on other worlds. We believed that if we lived peacefully and harmed no one, we would be safe. We were wrong. Communications Officer Rodriguez had been monitoring Galactic communication channels. She turned to Morrison with a troubled expression. Captain, word of our presence here is spreading through alien communication networks. I am picking up messages from various species discussing our arrival. What are they saying? Morrison asked. Rodriguez looked uncomfortable. Most of them think we are fools. The Altarians are calling our mission primitive emotional behavior. The Centaurians say we are an evolutionary dead end that will soon eliminate itself. Captain Morrison stood in his ready room looking out at the Zephyrian fleet. The enemy ships moved in perfect formations around the burning planet below. They looked confident and untouchable. Morrison knew his single ship could not fight them, all in open battle. But sometimes the best way to win was not to fight fair. He called his senior officers to the briefing room. Lieutenant Commander Clark arrived first, carrying data pads full of tactical information. Dr. Martinez came next, still working on her translation equipment. Communications Officer Rodriguez brought her communication gear, and Chief Engineer Bobby Taylor wiped grease from his hands as he sat down. "We have a decision to make," Morrison began. "We can leave this system and report what we found to Earth Command, or we can stay and fight an enemy that outnumbers us 50 to 1. Bobby Taylor spoke first. "Captain, I have been studying their ship designs. The Zephyrians build their vessels for overwhelming firepower, but they sacrifice speed and maneuverability. Our ship is smaller and faster. We might be able to use that advantage." Lieutenant Commander Clark nodded. "I agree with Bobby, but we cannot win a straight fight. We would need to use guerrilla tactics, hit and run attacks, strike their weak points and disappear before they can respond." Dr. Martinez looked worried. "Captain, if we start attacking them, they might take revenge on the Valdari civilians. We could make things worse for the people we are trying to save." Communications Officer Rodriguez had been quiet, but now she spoke up. "Captain, I have been monitoring Zephyrian communications. They are already planning to kill most of the Valdari in 2 days. We cannot make things much worse." Morrison looked at each of his officers. These were good people who had volunteered for a dangerous mission to help strangers. Now they were asking them to risk their lives against impossible odds. "I want to be clear about something," Morrison said. "If we do this, some of us might not make it home. Earth Command did not order us to fight. They only told us to investigate. We would be choosing this battle ourselves." Bobby Taylor grinned. "Captain, I did not join the space service to run away from bullies. These Zephyrian thugs think they can destroy innocent people just because no one will stop them. Well, someone is going to stop them now." Lieutenant Commander Clark stood up. "Sir, I volunteer to lead the first attack mission." Dr. Martinez sighed. "I cannot fight, but I can help coordinate with the Valdari resistance. They know their own planet better than the Zephyrians do." Rodriguez nodded. "I can jam their communications and make it harder for them to coordinate their defenses." Morrison felt proud of his crew. They were scared, but they were willing to do what was right, even when it was dangerous. "Very well. We fight. But we fight smart. Bobby, I need you to modify our weapon systems. Make them as effective as possible against Zephyrian armor. Clark, plan surgical strikes against their most important targets. Rodriguez, start disrupting their communication networks. Martinez, work with the Valdari to establish safe houses and evacuation routes." The next 12 hours were the busiest in the ship's history. Bobby Taylor worked in the engine room, pushing their reactor to produce more power than it was designed for. He rerouted energy from life support systems and converted cargo bays into weapon storage areas. Lieutenant Commander Clark studied every piece of data they had about Zephyrian tactics. He identified their command ships, their supply vessels, and their communication arrays. He planned attack routes that would let the Horizon strike quickly and escape before the enemy could respond. Dr. Martinez established contact with Valdari survivors across the planet. She learned that many were hiding in underground crystal caverns that the Zephyrians had not discovered yet. These hidden communities could provide intelligence and support for human operations. Communications Officer Rodriguez began her electronic warfare campaign. She sent false signals that confused Zephyrian navigation systems. She jammed their communication frequencies and made it difficult for their ships to talk to each other. The first attack came at dawn. Lieutenant Commander Clark took a small shuttle and approached the Zephyrian fleet from behind one of the system's moons. His target was a supply ship that was delivering fresh troops to the planet. Clark waited until the supply ship was separated from the main fleet. Then he struck with precision missiles that had been modified by Bobby Taylor. The Zephyrian vessel exploded in a ball of fire, taking 300 enemy soldiers with it. Before the other Zephyrian ships could respond, Clark was already gone, hidden again behind the moon. The enemy fleet went into high alert. They began searching for the attacker, but their sensors could not find the small human shuttle. For the first time since arriving at the Valdari world, the Zephyrians looked worried. 2 hours later, the horizon itself attacked. Captain Morrison brought his ship out of the asteroid belt and fired on a Zephyrian communication station that was orbiting the planet. Bobby Taylor's weapon modifications worked perfectly. The enemy station was destroyed before it could send a warning. The Zephyrian fleet tried to surround the horizon, but the human ship was too fast. Morrison used the planet's gravity to slingshot around to the other side, where he destroyed another supply depot. By the end of the first day, the humans had destroyed 6 Zephyrian installations without losing a single person. The enemy was confused and angry. They had never faced an opponent who refused to fight fairly, but the real victory was happening on the planet's surface. Dr. Martinez had been working with Elder Kith and other Valdari leaders to organize resistance activities. The Valdari could not fight with weapons, but they were incredibly good at hiding and moving without being seen. Valdari civilians began sabotaging Zephyrian equipment. They used their knowledge of crystal technology to overload alien power systems. They collapsed tunnels to trap enemy patrols. They even managed to free some prisoners from Zephyrian holding camps. "Captain," Dr. Martinez reported during their second day of operations, "the Valdari are changing. They are still peaceful people, but they are learning that sometimes peace must be defended. Elder Keth says our example has inspired them to resist in ways they never thought possible." Morrison was pleased to hear it, but he knew their situation was still desperate. Long-range sensors showed that Zephyrian reinforcements were only hours away from the system. Communications Officer Rodriguez had been working on something special. She had managed to hack into the Galactic communication network that connected all the advanced civilizations in the local area. "Captain," she said excitedly, "I can broadcast a message to every species within 50 light years. We can tell them what is happening here." Morrison thought about it. Maybe if other civilizations saw humans fighting against impossible odds, to save innocent people, some of them would decide to help. "Do it," Morrison ordered. "Send this message to everyone." Rodriguez activated the broad-spectrum transmitter. Morrison's voice went out across the galaxy, reaching hundreds of worlds and billions of intelligent beings. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human starship Horizon. We are currently fighting to defend the Valdari people against the Zephyrian Empire. The Valdari are a peaceful species who never hurt anyone. They asked for help from their friends among the stars, but no one came. We are humans from the planet Earth. We came because we believe that good people should help each other, even when it is dangerous. We are outnumbered 50 to 1, but we will not abandon innocent people to slavery and death. If any civilization is listening to this message and still believes in right and wrong, we ask for your help. But even if no one comes, we will continue to fight, because that is what humans do. We stand up to bullies, we protect the weak, and we never give up hope." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within an hour, Rodriguez was receiving hundreds of messages from across the galaxy, but none of them offered help. The Altarian Republic sent a formal complaint, saying that human interference in galactic affairs was reckless and primitive. The Centauri Federation called humans an emotional species that does not understand the complexities of interstellar politics. The worst responses came from the ancient civilizations. The Andromedans sent a message saying, "Your species amuses us. We will enjoy watching your destruction." Several other advanced cultures placed bets on how long the humans would survive. But the most shocking response came from a species called the Viridians. They had been enslaved by the Zephyrians 20 years earlier, but had managed to escape to distant colonies. "Human ship," their message said, "we know what the Zephyrians do to the people they capture. We begged 17 different civilizations to help us fight back. All of them said no. We learned that in this galaxy, if you are weak, you die alone. We are sorry for the Valdari, but we cannot risk our remaining people to save them. You are brave but foolish. The strong prey on the weak, and no one cares." Dr. Martinez read the message with tears in her eyes. Captain, how many species have the Zephyrians destroyed while everyone else watched? Lieutenant Commander Clark checked his tactical displays. According to intercepted communications, they have conquered 47 worlds in the past century. That probably represents millions or billions of people killed or enslaved. The third day began with bad news. Long-range sensors showed that the Zephyrian reinforcements had arrived during the night. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge counting enemy ships on the display screen. 112 vessels now surrounded. The Valdari homeworld. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Clark reported, the new ships include their heavy battle cruisers. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Chief Engineer Bobby Taylor climbed up from the engine room with his tools in hand. His uniform was torn and his face was covered with grease. Sir, our reactor is running at 130% capacity. I can give you maybe 6 more hours before we start having serious problems. Communications Officer Rodriguez was monitoring Zephyrian battle communications. Captain, they are preparing for what they call the final sweep. All remaining Valdari civilians will be loaded onto transport ships in 4 hours. Anyone who resists will be killed immediately. Dr. Martinez had been working with Elder Keth all night to coordinate evacuation efforts. Captain, we have moved 30,000 Valdari to secure underground locations. But there are still over 800,000 people in Zephyrian-controlled areas. We cannot save them all. Morrison felt the weight of impossible choices. His single ship could not fight over 100 enemy vessels, but he could not abandon nearly 1 million innocent people to slavery and death. All right, Morrison said quietly. If we cannot win by being stronger, we win by being smarter. Bobby, I need everything you can give me from our engines and weapons. Clark, prepare for close-range combat tactics. Rodriguez, jam their communications so badly they cannot coordinate with each other. Martinez, tell the Valdari to be ready for mass evacuation. The plan was desperate and probably suicidal. The Horizon would attack the Zephyrian fleet directly, hoping to create enough confusion to disrupt their final operation against the Valdari civilians. Lieutenant Commander Clark launched his fighter shuttle first. His target was the Zephyrian command ship, a massive vessel that controlled the entire enemy fleet. If he could damage their central command, the other ships might become confused and disorganized. Clark approached the command ship from directly above, where their sensors were weakest. He fired modified missiles that Bobby Taylor had equipped with Valdari crystal technology. The combination of human engineering and Valdari science created weapons more powerful than anything Earth had ever produced. The missiles struck the command ship's communication array, sending sparks and debris floating into space. For a few precious minutes, the Zephyrian fleet could not receive orders from their leadership. During that confusion, Captain Morrison brought the Horizon charging straight into the middle of the enemy formation. It was the most reckless military maneuver anyone on the crew had ever seen. But it was also completely unexpected. The Zephyrian ships had been arranged to bombard the planet below. They were not prepared for an enemy attack from within their own defensive formation. Morrison flew his ship between the massive alien vessels, firing at their weapon systems and engine compartments. Communications Officer Rodriguez activated every jamming device the ship had, the radio spectrum filled with electronic noise that made it impossible for the Zephyrian ships to talk to each other. Several enemy vessels accidentally fired at their own allies in the confusion, but the humans paid a price for their bold attack. Zephyrian return fire damaged the Horizon's hull and knocked out several of their weapon systems. Sparks flew across, the bridge's control panels overloaded. Hull breach on Deck 7, Bobby Taylor reported over the communication system. I have sealed the emergency doors, but we are losing atmosphere fast. Dr. Martinez was coordinating with Valdari resistance groups on the planet's surface. Captain, the underground communities are ready to receive evacuated civilians, but we need time to get them to the crystal caverns. Morrison made a decision that surprised everyone on the bridge. Instead of retreating to a safe distance, he ordered the Horizon to land on the planet's surface. Sir? Lieutenant Commander Clark asked over the radio from his fighter shuttle. Did you just order us to land? You heard correctly, Morrison replied. We cannot fight their entire fleet from space, but we can make them come to us on the ground, where their big ships cannot maneuver. The horizon descended through the planet's atmosphere with Zephyrian fighters chasing them. Enemy plasma bolts lit up the sky like deadly fireworks. Bobby Taylor pushed the engines past their safety limits to keep them ahead of their pursuers. They landed near the largest Valdari crystal city, where thousands of civilians were hiding from Zephyrian ground forces. The moment the ship touched down, the crew began setting up defensive positions around their vessel. Lieutenant Commander Clark landed his shuttle next to the main ship. "Captain, what is the plan?" Morrison looked at the crystal city rising like a mountain of light from the planet's surface. "The plan is to make the Zephyrians come to us. Force them to fight the kind of battle we can win." Dr. Martinez had established contact with Elder Keth, who was somewhere in the city's underground tunnels. "Captain, the Valdari have something they want to show us. They say it might help in our fight." Elder Keth led them through passages that glowed with their own internal light. The crystal walls seemed to pulse with energy, like the heartbeat of a living creature. Deep beneath the city, they found a chamber filled with the most beautiful sight any human had ever seen. The walls were covered with crystals that sang in harmony with each other. The sound was like music, but also like something much deeper. It felt like the voice of the planet itself. "This is our city's heart," Elder Keth explained through the translation device. "These crystals store the life energy of our world. We have never used them for anything except healing and growing food. But your chief engineer thinks they might be used for other purposes." Bobby Taylor was studying the crystals with scientific instruments. His eyes were wide with amazement. "Captain, these crystals can store and focus energy in ways that Earth science cannot explain. If we could connect them to our ship's power systems, what would that do?" Morrison asked. Bobby grinned. "It would give us enough power to fight 100 enemy ships." But there was a problem. Using the crystals for weapons would require the Valdari to abandon their most sacred principle. They would have to choose between their peaceful nature and their survival. Elder Keth gathered the Valdari community leaders for an emergency council meeting. For hours they debated in their musical language while the humans waited nervously. Outside, Zephyrian ground forces were advancing toward the Crystal City. Finally, Elder Keth returned with their decision. "Captain Morrison, for 4,000 years our people have never used violence against any living being. We believe that intelligence naturally leads to peace, and that peace was the highest virtue." Morrison felt his heart sinking. He thought, the Valdari had decided they could not help. "But," Elder Keth continued, "you have shown us that there is something higher than peace. There is justice. There is the protection of the innocent. There is standing up to evil even when it is dangerous." Elder Keth looked directly at Morrison with his large, gentle eyes. "We will help you turn our city's heart into a weapon, not because we have learned to love violence, but because we have learned that sometimes violence is necessary to protect what we love." The next 6 hours were the most intense of Bobby Taylor's life. Working with Valdari crystal engineers, he connected the city's energy systems to the Horizon's weapons and shields. The process required him to learn entirely new principles of physics that Earth scientists had never imagined. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Clark organized the defense of the Crystal City. Zephyrian ground troops were attacking from 3 directions, using heavy weapons to blast through the crystal walls. But the humans had advantages the Zephyrians did not expect. The Valdari knew every tunnel and passage in their city. They could appear behind enemy positions and disappear before the aliens could respond. Communications Officer Rodriguez intercepted Zephyrian military communications and learned something that changed everything. "Captain," she called over the battle communication system, "I have been listening to enemy command frequencies. The Zephyrians are not just conquering the Valdari world, they are broadcasting the entire operation to other species across the galaxy." Morrison felt cold anger in his chest. "What do you mean?" "This is entertainment for them. Other civilizations are watching the destruction of the Valdari like it is a sporting event. They are taking bets on how long we will survive." Dr. Martinez had been helping wounded Valdari civilians in the underground medical centers. She heard Rodriguez's report and felt sick to her stomach. "Captain, are you telling me that advanced civilizations are watching genocide for fun?" "That appears to be exactly what they are doing," Rodriguez replied. Morrison made a decision that would echo across the galaxy for generations. He ordered Rodriguez to hack into the same broadcasting network that was showing the Valdari destruction. "If they want to watch," Morrison said grimly, "then we will give them something worth watching. We will show them what happens when someone fights back." Rodriguez worked for 20 minutes to break through the alien security systems. Finally, she managed to take control of the Galactic broadcasting. The UES horizon rose from the crystal city like a star being born. Energy from the Valdari crystals flowed through every system on the ship, making it glow with blue and white light. Captain Morrison had never seen his vessel look so powerful or so beautiful. "Captain," Chief Engineer Bobby Taylor reported from the engine room, "the crystal energy is beyond anything I can measure. Our weapons are operating at 500% normal capacity. Our shields are stronger than a battle station. But I have no idea how long this will last." The Zephyrian fleet was waiting for them in orbit. 112 warships arranged in a perfect attack formation. Their commander, Supreme Admiral Karzeth, had conquered 47 worlds using the same tactics. He expected this battle to be over quickly. He was wrong. The horizon charged straight into the center of the enemy fleet, but this time, it was not a desperate gamble. The ship's crystal-powered shields absorbed enemy fire like it was nothing more than gentle rain. Human weapons, enhanced by Valdari technology, cut through Zephyrian armor like it was made of paper. Lieutenant Commander Clark, flying his fighter shuttle alongside the main ship, could not believe what he was seeing. "Captain, their weapons are barely scratching our shields, but our return fire is destroying their ships with single hits." Communications Officer Rodriguez was monitoring enemy transmissions. "Sir, the Zephyrian fleet commander is trying to retreat. He has never seen anything like this before." But Captain Morrison was not going to let the aliens escape to destroy other peaceful worlds. "All ships that participated in attacking the Valdari will be disabled. We will give them one chance to surrender." Dr. Martinez was coordinating with Elder Keth and the Valdari communities on the planet below. The peaceful people were watching their crystal city's power being used as a weapon for the first time in their species' history. "Captain," Dr. Martinez reported, "Elder Keth says the crystals are singing. He has never heard them make sounds like this before. He thinks they approve of how their power is being used." The battle became a showcase of what happened when human creativity combined with Valdari wisdom. Morrison used tactics that no military academy had ever taught. He flew his ship in spirals around enemy formations, creating confusion and panic among the Zephyrian crews. Bobby Taylor had modified their weapons to work in harmony with the crystal energy. Instead of simple explosions, human missiles now created cascading energy waves that disabled multiple enemy ships at once. The Zephyrians tried to use their superior numbers by surrounding the horizon from all directions. But the crystal-powered ship could move faster than anything they had ever seen. Morrison flew between enemy vessels, using their own formations against them. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Clark called from his fighter, "I am detecting massive power surges from the planet's surface. The entire crystal city is glowing like a second sun." Dr. Martinez had been working with Valdari engineers to coordinate the city's energy systems with the ship's movements. What they created was something that had never existed before: a planet and a starship working together as a single weapon system. Every time Morrison fired the ship's main guns, the crystal city below sent additional power through space to enhance the blast. Every time enemy fire struck their shields, the city's crystals absorbed the excess energy and sent it back to strengthen their defenses. The Zephyrians had never faced anything like this. Their rigid military tactics, designed to overwhelm weaker opponents, were useless against an enemy that could adapt and improvise faster than they could respond. Communications Officer Rodriguez had maintained her hack into the Galactic broadcasting network. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds were watching the battle in real time. "Captain," Rodriguez reported, The reaction across the galaxy is incredible. The younger members of various species are cheering for us, but their governments are angry that we are disrupting what they call the natural order. Morrison smiled grimly as he destroyed another Zephyrian cruiser. Let them be angry. Sometimes the natural order needs to be disrupted. The turning point came when Morrison made a decision that shocked everyone, including his own crew. Instead of destroying the Zephyrian command ship, he captured it. Using precision weapons guided by Valdari crystal technology, the Horizon disabled the enemy flagship without killing anyone aboard. Then Morrison did something that had never been done in galactic military history. He teleported aboard the enemy vessel. The transportation technology was another gift from the Valdari crystals. Within seconds, Morrison and a team of his officers were standing on the bridge of the Zephyrian command ship, face to face with Supreme Admiral Karzeth. The Zephyrian commander was a large reptilian being with scales that changed color to show his emotions. Right now, those scales were showing fear, confusion, and anger. "Human," Karzeth hissed. "You have interfered with galactic law. The strong have the right to take from the weak. This is how the universe has always worked." Morrison looked at the alien commander with calm, steady eyes. Not anymore. Dr. Martinez had brought her translation equipment aboard the enemy ship. Through it, Morrison could speak directly to Karzeth in his own language. "Admiral, your empire has destroyed 47 peaceful worlds. You have enslaved millions of innocent people. You have turned conquest into entertainment for bored civilizations. All of this ends now." Karzeth's scales shifted to show defiance. "You are one species among thousands. You cannot change the way the galaxy works." Morrison walked to the large window on the command ship's bridge. Outside, the remaining Zephyrian fleet was retreating in disorder. Below, the Valdari crystal city was glowing with power and hope. "Admiral, let me show you something your empire never understood." Morrison activated the ship's communication system and sent a message to every Zephyrian vessel in the fleet. But he also broadcast it across the galactic network to every civilization that was watching. "This is Captain Morrison of Earth. We came to this system because the Valdari asked for help. They are a peaceful people who never hurt anyone. They sent their plea across the galaxy, and 238 advanced civilizations heard them. Not one responded." Morrison paused and looked directly at the camera that was broadcasting his words to billions of beings. "But we heard them too. And we came. Not because we are the strongest or the smartest species in the galaxy. We came because someone needed help, and we were able to give it." On the planet below, Elder Keth was listening to the broadcast with thousands of other Valdari. For the first time in months, his people were not afraid. "We have learned something important today," Morrison continued. "The Valdari thought that intelligence naturally leads to peace. The Zephyrians believe that intelligence leads to conquest. Both of them are wrong." Morrison looked directly at Admiral Karzeth. "Intelligence should lead to compassion. The ability to understand suffering should make us want to prevent it, not cause it. The power to help others should make us help them, not ignore them." The broadcast was being heard on hundreds of worlds. In government buildings across the galaxy, alien leaders were arguing about what to do. Some wanted to send fleets to destroy the troublesome humans. Others were beginning to wonder if Morrison might be right. But the most important reactions were coming from ordinary people. Young Altarians were asking their parents why their government had refused to help the Valdari. Centauri children were wondering why strength was more important than kindness. Dr. Martinez was monitoring communication channels across the galaxy. "Captain, we are receiving thousands of messages from individual beings on different worlds. They are asking how they can help species like the Valdari." Communications Officer Rodriguez was tracking something even more significant. "Sir, I am detecting new transmissions from several star systems. It looks like other species are beginning to respond to distress calls." Morrison felt hope growing in his chest. Maybe their sacrifice would mean something after all. Admiral Karzeth was studying the tactical displays on his command ship. His remaining fleet was scattered and demoralized. Many of his ships were already surrendering. "Human," he said quietly, You have destroyed my empire. My people will exile me for this failure. Morrison looked at the alien commander with something that might have been sympathy. Admiral, your empire was built on causing pain to others. Maybe it is time for your people to try something different. What do you mean? Help us rebuild what you destroyed. Use your ships to carry supplies instead of weapons. Use your knowledge to heal instead of harm. Show the galaxy that even the Zephyrian Empire can change. Karzeth stared at Morrison for a long moment. His scales shifted through colors that Dr. Martinez's translator could not identify. Finally, the alien commander spoke. You are asking me to betray everything my species believes in. Morrison shook his head. I am asking you to become something better than what your species believes in. 3 hours later, the battle was over. The Zephyrian fleet had surrendered, and their ground forces were laying down their weapons. But more importantly, something fundamental had changed in the galaxy. Communications Officer Rodriguez was processing hundreds of incoming messages. Captain, we are receiving requests for help from 12 different star systems.